Alright guys, welcome back. Thought I'd do something a little bit different today. I don't know if I've ever done like a farm tour overview of the layout of the land here. I know I've taken you up on a drone ride. Sorry. And, you know, obviously had you all over the farm building and fixing different stuff like fence and working around the pond and cabin and things like that, but I'll take you on a little ride here in the Terex and kind of just show you the lay of the land here. So obviously in my yard here, right at the house, the road runs like, my lot is a big square here, it's 40 acres, and it's like 500 feet I think of road frontage, and then it goes up on both ends. There's hedgerows on both ends, so that the property line's really well defined, at least on three sides. And then I'll show you on the far side where it ends. But just recently, I built a dirt bike track. It goes almost all the way around the perimeter of my property, and I'll show you out here. I've got my pasture kind of right in the middle of my, or on the far side of my property I should say, so you really can't get through there, so I went all the way around the pasture, and then rather than come like down this bottom side of the pasture, I stayed out on this perimeter following the roadway with my track. So I'll do a dirt bike ride here pretty soon and we'll go on the track, but essentially had it come all the way up this hedgerow that runs along the roadway here. So it runs all the way through all these maples here, and it's real fun through here. It's really tight, good single track, like a mountain bike trail almost. You almost had to come to a complete stop in a couple spots, so I really like it that way. Other people might not so much, but. And then this is my neighbor's driveway down here, and my property line goes straight that way up the hill. And I'll show you, we'll come around all the way around, and we'll end up back down here in a few minutes. So, living on a dirt road, kind of always been a dream of mine, hence the name Dirt Road Life. You know, there's pluses and minuses, I guess, to it. Definitely a lot less traffic on this road than there would be on a paved main road. But it is dustier, and the road gets tore up in like the springtime when you get a lot of rain. You know, hard to keep a vehicle clean, things like that, but I wouldn't trade it for the world for the peace and quiet that you get by living out here without much traffic. I mean, really the only traffic I see is like between 7 and 8 people going to work. They cut across here, some of them, and then like 4:30 to 5:30, or maybe even 6 o'clock. 4:30 to 5:30 generally. So, garden, you saw me put that in last year, my barn and my pond. I just put these pallets that we had the sawmill on originally until we built the trailer. Just put those in, so like if kids are up, my friends' kids or whatever, they're up fishing, they don't have to get all muddy when they walk around the pond. Sometimes this is like, you know, 6 inches of water, so there's one here and then one on the inlet to the pond. This is the outlet. I dug this out with my tractor last year. It's hard to tell right now, just all grown up with grass, but I just took the bucket, went down through there, and when the creek gets up to the level where it overflows, it really comes out right down through here, so that worked really well. And a couple videos from now, I'll show you right up here. I'm gonna be building a shooting range. You can see my shooting bench right there. So there's one mound of dirt here, like topsoil, that when the guy had the pond built, he scraped all the topsoil off first. He made 2 big piles of it. This is the first one, and it's like almost 100 yards right from my shooting bench. Well, coincidentally, there's another pile that he had, and this one's like 170 yards. You can see it out there, and it's hard to see right now just with all the grass. I got to get out here and brush hog. I brush hog my overplot here, but this one's like 170 yards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that another 30 yards, and then I'm going to have a nice 100, 200 yard rifle range right out here. And then I'll probably put in a pistol range, and just it'll probably utilize the 100 yard backstop, and you'll just, you know, move up closer and shoot at it. So here's one of my food plots. I like this one because you can kind of see the deer right from my bedroom window up there on the 2nd floor. Master bedroom is right on that side of the house, and you can look right out here, and the deer are out in here constantly. I just brush hogged this, so the clover's coming up through beautifully. This is the 2nd year it's been in. And then this wood line runs straight up through, and again, that's the other end of my property. So like I said, from this end down to where we were just at with the Terex here, where my neighbor's driveway is, that's about 500 yards, give or take. Roadway's right out here. The other nice thing is, when he built the pond, the last owner, he hauled all the dirt out, and he actually dug right down in. He didn't use the dirt that he dug out to build like a berm. He just dug it right down in, so the yard is like pretty much flat with the level of the pond. But he took it and he mounted it up all along here, so the road is actually down like 10 feet from the like where that pine is. It drops off like 10 feet over there, and it's a great privacy break. Just keeps people from being able to see anything you're doing back in here. And that goes all the way right down to my driveway. So I'm showing you the cabin, but we'll just pull in here so you have an idea of kind of where it is relative to the house and the pond. And eventually my plan is, this still gets a little bit swampy right in front of the cabin, and that's why I've kind of put it here, because I plan on someday renting like an excavator for a month and just digging this out and making the pond come right up to the front porch of the cabin. That'll be probably years down the road, assuming I'm still here, but I love where I'm at, but New York's a little bit hard to deal with sometimes. Swamp out here. This is all swamp. It goes like probably another 150 yards that way to the property line, and this is kind of what my pond is supplied by. There's the bridge that I put in on this end, and you can see the water kind of trickling in to the pond, and then the outlet's way over there, kind of by the garden fence. Got a 4-wheeler trail up through here. The dirt bike trail actually comes up through here, and then it cuts across here, goes parallel to the swamp. What else should I show you real quick while we're over on this side? Let me go show you my fire pit. So this road was here, that road was there. This road leads right back to my barn. We'll come right back up this in a minute. So this is a fire pit I built. There's a bunch of rocks, big rocks, on the property lines and the hedgerows, and I just took the forks and I picked those up, or the bucket, and made a big fire pit with them, and everybody always thinks that's pretty neat. Get a lot of compliments on that. This thing here, it's a grain bin that I bought off my buddy, and I had big plans for it, and I just haven't got there yet, but I'm gonna cut some boards with the sawmill. I want to turn that into like an outdoor bar, but it's just really low on the list right now, and money's tight, and so we'll do that eventually, and I'll make a video or a series of videos probably on that. But that's the idea behind that. My target right here, and if I go all the way out to my berm that I was talking about that the guy put in for privacy with the dirt that he dug out of the pond, if I go all the way out there, it's like a 130-yard shot, and I've shot that far before. If I did it right now, I'd probably lose all sorts of arrows, but when I really get into shooting in the fall, I can certainly shoot out that far if I'm really dialed in. But that's really nice. All right. Cuts diagonally up towards the, I guess, top right corner of my property, you would say, if you're standing on the road looking out towards my house. And this is, I mean, there's some hardwoods in here, there's a nice cherry, there's a bunch of maples in here, and then up here it kind of switches to white pine and what are they called? Shoot. The conifers that lose their needles every year. Larch. So, pretty open in here. Fairly open, I guess. Down there again is the swamp. And then I'll take you out there. My neighbor's field and the end of this woods, edge of this woods, is the border on this section here. So I got a few trails. One there's one further down, which I'll take you up. It's like a little hill climb, kind of. Not really. Used to go up it all the time in the golf cart, but it's a little steep. My property doesn't have a ton of elevation change, which is nice, but you know, I guess if you want to have dirt bike hill climbs and side-by-side hill climbs, then it's not. But I think overall I'd rather have a flat piece of property, or at least flatter than hillier. So we actually went a little bit past. Here's the property line, and it goes straight this way, and I'll show you my fence line on the far side of the property is almost the property line. I made it so that I can still drive a truck around and mow around and be on my own land. But right down through here, this field is my neighbor's, and then all these woods and everything that way is mine. There's one of my tree stands. That's actually the one I killed my doe out of on video last fall. Alright, so coming back down here, that's the one road that I showed you. That's like pretty much the property line that goes straight up over the hill there. We'll come down here and we'll go up this one. A little bit more fun. I want to put some trails out through here. For the side-by-side. The dirt bike trail does go all the way up, runs along my neighbor's field edge, comes back down, and then it comes across this. There's like a side hill here, which we're gonna drive up right now, but it actually comes across that kind of like off camber. A little bit better practice. Thursday night we'll come up and have a few beers and rip around the track. Well, rip around the track and then have a few beers, I should say, but so here's my food plot. This is kind of like, this is the clover. Then out here I usually do a screen all the way around the perimeter. Clover's coming up like butter. Looks really, really nice. And then over here, like I said, the perimeter I'll do probably buckwheat this year. This here, and actually there's a lot of clover in here, surprisingly. I don't know. Maybe it's sprouting. And there's a lot of clover in here. But right now the plan is to plow this up and put it to like turnips or beets for late season. Have the clover for early season, this for late season. But honestly, I don't even know if I'd take the time to do it. I might just leave it as clover. See what it looks like in another week or so. And then like around the perimeter, I've done corn in the past, but this year I'm going to do buckwheat. I like that because it works as a screen. If I want to, say I'm over there in my stand for some reason, you know, say it's like a really rainy night, and this actually happened last year. It was really rainy out and I was in my stand because I didn't want to get soaked, and I just figured I'd watch, and if something came out I would put a stalk on. Well, sure enough, a really nice buck came out, and it was really early in the season. It was like the first week, I think, of postseason. But I ended up getting out of the stand, and I've told you in the past, like, always put your stand somewhere where you can get in and out undetected, because that's, in my opinion, the most important thing. But all those locusts in there, as long as you get down that ladder, you can get in those locusts. They don't see you at all. So you go through those, go all the way down to my house, and then you go down to my garage, and then I came up through these woods, and I had all that tall grass around the outside perimeter, and I was able to crawl, and I got within like 75 yards, and I just didn't feel comfortable making the shot. He never really gave me a good shot, and I was just out far enough where I didn't want to wing an arrow. So but that's why I do that, because you can get down on the ground, you can put yourself into a position where you can make a shot most of the time, even if that deer doesn't go where you wanted it to. So that's the idea behind doing like a screen around the outside. Pasture, obviously I've done a pasture tour, so you kind of have an idea of all this. This is the top paddock here. All of it's looking pretty good. I had to put the cows out really early this spring because I ran out of hay. It was a really bad drought around here last year, and nobody had, everybody had probably like 60% of the hay that they normally make. So it was extremely high priced, and it was hard to find. You can see this one looks a little better. They were just in the top one, and I just rotated them down to the bottom. So this middle one, it's been about 2 weeks since they've been in here, maybe a week and a half, and that's coming up. It's looking really good. There's a lot of nice grass in there. And I'll brush hog this all down probably in another couple weeks. Just make it a nice even height. And it usually fills right back in. So I should have said, well, this stuff I have mowed is the property line, and then this stuff is the top border of my land, and everything that way is my neighbors. There's the cows. This one's been, you know, probably close to 2 weeks since they've been out in here. I put them in here 2 nights ago, and this one was always the weediest, so, but there is a lot of good grass in there. They just got to pick through it. Another tree stand, that's a ladder stand that I see a lot of deer out of. And then this hedgerow goes all the way down to the road and kind of where we started off, and I pointed out my neighbor's driveway. So yet in the back. Someday I'll probably add one, but it's not often they come through here, so probably not too worried about it. Grove of locusts there. The cows love laying under those and rubbing up on them, scratching their backs and stomachs and all that good stuff. And then this cuts right up over to where I winter the cows at. We'll go down through here. This is like a nice sugar bush that I might tap eventually, but the trees are a little bit on the small side. They're all, I'd say average, maybe average to the size of this maple right here. Maybe 8 to 10 inches, which is a little bit on the small side. But there's a lot of sugar maples in here. A lot of logs on the ground that I'll probably drag out with this. They're small enough I can drag out with this, or cut them in half and drag them out with this. This is the only really spot that it kind of gets muddy on the property. Probably put a drainage ditch in here eventually. I think it comes off this hill and it kind of accumulates down in this grasses here. I'll brush hog this down eventually before fall. Dirt bike trail, like I said, comes around the fence where we just drove, and then it cuts in these woods, does some ups and downs this hill here, and then it cuts down into this row of trees that runs right along the roadside out there, and that's a really fun section. And this road just kind of leads right back up to the house. Like on the other side of the property where he took that dirt out and he made that berm. I've been doing the same thing here. It's going to take a few more years, but eventually it'll give a nice privacy break, and these sticks will break down and it'll look a lot nicer than it does right now, but it really doesn't look that bad, I don't think. And then this was an old barn foundation that was here when I got here, but I didn't know it was here really. This whole area, probably out to where I'm standing right now, was covered in, yeah, just do what you gotta do, was covered in brush, and I got my buddy's excavator up here. I popped them all out of the ground, all the autumn olive and the or Russian olive or whatever it's called, the multifloral rose. It was all those big bushes, and I popped all those out, exposed the fence or the foundation. I really like the look of that. I think eventually I went to this concert once and they had something very similar. It's like somebody's backyard concert. There was a bunch of people here there. It was really fun, but they had like a stage up top there, and then they had like all these seats down below. I'd love to do something like that and like have a band once or twice a summer and have parties out here, but we'll see if that ever happens. A couple apple trees around. I planted some Norway spruce, the 6 on the end of the driveway, and a couple over here, just because I cut like a big white pine down there that was really ugly, split into 2 big things. When I first got here, I had that chopped down and had the stump ground out. But that's basically it. I've got lots of plans for around here, and I'm sure I'll bring you around for a lot of the projects if they ever materialize. But that's the farm tour. I do want to do a video on the shop itself and my plans for that and what I've done to it. I've done videos on how I heat it, but I've never done an actual shop tour, and I get a lot of questions and comments and compliments about the shop, so I think that's something that probably a lot of you guys would be interested in, and I'd be happy to do that. I've got, this dock was here, the narrow dock, and then I built this 10 by 10 floating dock, and just sometimes I park it out at that buoy, and I've got a big weight at the bottom of that I anchor this to, or obviously right now I'll do something like this where I can just have it attached to the narrow dock, and then you got a nice big dock out here to stand on and dive off. And some of my buddies bring their kids up and they absolutely love coming out and jumping off this and climbing up the ladder and doing it all over again. So, and I do too. I haven't been in the pond yet this year, but it's gonna happen soon. It's like 85 degrees right now, and looks like it's gonna be pretty nice in the upcoming days. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the tour here, and stay tuned. Obviously lots of more riding videos and build videos and fix videos and all that good stuff coming. It's tough during summer. I'm only one person, and you know, you gotta mow the lawn, you gotta keep up with the garden, keep the house cleaned, and it's just like, man, no time for projects right now. But anyway, stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.